Yeah.
Hey everyone, I said I'd be back with another movie review this week, and here I am to bring it to you. Today I am going to be talking about the latest documentary from directors Martin Desmond-Roe and Trayvon Free, being BS High, which follows the story of Bishop Sycamore, a fake school that went up against IMG in a tournament game on ESPN of all things, and obviously the failure was spectacular, and everyone started to question, where did these guys come from? And little did everyone know, they hardly even existed in the first place. And a lot of that has to do with the controversy surrounding the team's head coach, Roy Johnson. And this documentary, I really wanted to get on here and talk about this because, first off, the directors, obviously Academy Award-winning directors for their short Two Distant Strangers, which, I'll be honest, I was not very much a fan of. I really think their approach to, kind of like the struggle Groundhog Day type movie was really, really misguided. But they won the Oscar, and I'm really glad, regardless, that they were given an opportunity, or, just maybe they set out on their own to do this, but the fact that they were able to make this film after that Academy Award-winning short film, I think really was a huge deal, because this one, I think, is a real winner, and maybe not in the way that you would like it to be, but I just think it is such a fascinating case study about a complete delusional, malignant, and destructive sociopath who quite honestly is a waste of space. Now, I know, that sounds really harsh, but, when you watch this documentary, you will completely agree with me of how horrible Roy Johnson is as a person. This is why I think this documentary is so fascinating, because seldom have we ever seen a subject in which the documentary is centered around, more or less portrayed in a negative light, be such the forefront of the interviews coming from him. I think that kind of feeds into his ego and narcissism, obviously, but to really blatantly lie on camera and still try to pass yourself off as this, fun-loving guy. Just when he laughs on camera, you can tell how maniacal he is. It is evil watching him laugh, and downright disturbing. I was horrified by the end of this documentary, and I think this is why, this is one of the most shocking documentaries I have seen in a long time, in years. And just as the story was unfolding, what Bishop Sycamore really was, and what he did to these kids in this situation is truly, truly vile, disgusting, and horrifying, because he knew he could take advantage of them because they're underprivileged kids, and it is just so sad to see a black man do this to his own community, but they even say in the documentary it was because he couldn't do it to anyone else. And I just think it's really, really saddening to see how the ramifications of this con man's actions throughout the course of this school, well, I say school loosely, season, because you can even see the effects on the players that it has today. And I think that's some of the most shocking stuff, because just when you think there's not a low he can sink to, he does. And the documentary covers it in detail. And what I love is the fact that you do get so much of him in the interviews. It really is a character study more than it is a documentary, which I find insanely fascinating, which is why I'm saying, I've never really seen a documentary quite like this. And I love how they bring in a bunch of other talking heads to absolutely contradict everything he is saying, and showing how much of a pathological liar he is, because he has no qualms with it whatsoever. This man has no feeling, and it only for himself. And it's just so sad to watch what he did during this whole setup. It really a ruse to so many people, how he's avoiding payments, doing all these things, and it just shows you like how far you can go if you truly believe in yourself, and not necessarily in a good way, obviously, because this is a really horrifying case, because the reason he was able to do what he did was the system that was in place that allowed him to do it. And I think part of it is because no one ever thought that anybody would create a fake school or all these things. And it's crazy to think that, without giving too much of the story away, it's crazy to think that this man is still walking out among us. So if you see him, either run away from him or punch him in the face. Like, I'm not saying I condone violence, but my goodness, I really, this was one of the few times I was yelling at my screen. I was so mad, and I just wanted to punch him every time he came on screen and he started talking about something just that you knew he was blatantly lying about. Like, really, he is one of the most evil, he's one of the greatest villains in all of cinema, and he's a real person. I'm telling you, I can't stress enough, how much of a feat this is, because they could have been, the directors, they could have been very confrontational, and it could have been very much a one-sided thing where we wouldn't have gotten enough with Roy Johnson. But the little moments they capture when maybe he doesn't think the camera's rolling, and just how they approach him with these questions, I think there's quite a skill in pulling something like that off, and approaching a subject that is evil and disgusting, but still kind of listening to them and giving them an opportunity to tell it from their perspective without pointing fingers. I think is really, especially in documentary filmmaking, a very impressive skill that you must have when trying to craft a narrative like this, because I guarantee you there wouldn't be many other people who would agree to do a film that paints them in such a light. But he is just such an interesting case study in so many ways, and throughout the movie you kind of wonder what his aim is. I'm still not even sure, because I know there's they get into some of the shady stuff he did by the end, which really just shocked me completely. But at the same time, his intention, some people are why did he start it? I do not know. Yeah, this really is such a terrifying situation that on the surface would have appeared funny when they appeared on ESPN and just made a complete laughingstock of themselves. But just to see the tragedy that took place at the time, and in the layers underneath, really, gives rise to something much more sinister that perhaps we had not known about before. So I got to give it to these directors for bringing the story to light. I want to thank you guys for making this documentary, because this really is one of the best films of the year. I was so compelled from front to back by this documentary, and I really wanted to get this review out there because I wanted to tell everybody to go see this movie. I watched it on Max, so it's definitely on there. I'll put a link in the description for all of those of you who want to watch it on there. But yeah, I'm going to give BS High a 9 out of 10. Really, I mean, I can't recommend this documentary enough. As I said, I haven't been that angry or shocked by a documentary in quite some time. And I hope that you guys, by watching this, are aware of this horrible situation that happened. And hopefully this will stop Roy Johnson in his tracks in the years to come. So yeah, guys, let me know what you thought about BS High if you've seen it. Do you agree with me that this is such a compelling watch? Because really, I kept being horrified as the story went along, and it's very heartbreaking in many ways. And I just wish that there weren't systems in place for people like this to get a hold of and kind of warp it to their benefit, and otherwise it really is just a really sad tale. But yeah, guys, this is going to be my last review before I head to the Toronto International Film Festival. I am beyond the moon excited. This is my first time going to, well, Toronto in general, but especially the Toronto International Film Festival. Going to see a lot of early awards contenders there. Obviously, The Holdovers, Miyazaki's A Boy and the Heron, There's going to be so many. Zone of Interest, which I just got a ticket to. There's going to be so many great films, and I'm going to try my best to bring you reviews from the festival in Toronto. But you're definitely going to see some out of the theater reactions on this channel. I guarantee you that. I want to get the word out to you guys about these movies that are going to really be big coming down later in the year. Big award players and probably some of the best of the year. So yeah, guys, until the next time on this channel, take it easy, and I'll see you later.